we perceive things from our point of perspective. If you're standing here and something hits you, you perceive it as the impact. If your perception goes over there and you witness this action, do you feel it the same? Do you interpret it the same? Take the same circumstance, you're no longer over there, you're watching it on a screen. It still affects you, but it's different. This is something to understand, that where you are in the way you perceive your information is going to have deep effects on you. This is why it's so important to be able to relieve pressure or be able to recognize pressure, to move yourself in a position away where you're comfortable, where you're not being controlled by it. We all feel things sometimes more than we want to. That means we're too close to it. Simply ask somebody that's impartial and watch what happens. So there's an old phrase. It's called the sword's truth. And if we took an old, very crusade-style sword from the Christians, you'll see the tip of the blade and two sides of the sword. And this is known as a metaphor. One side of the sword is your truth. Situation happens, you perceived it, that's your truth. I'm there, I perceive it, the other side of the sword is my truth. But the truth is the tip of the sword. How do we know this to be true? You know it because we've all seen police officers show up to a crime, whether it's on TV, on the news, or even in a story. We all are familiar with the procedure. The police officer is going to come up and ask some witnesses. Who saw what happened? Witness number one is going to tell their story. And witness number two is going to tell their story. And the officer is going to play the tip of the sword and play the truth card. He's got to see past this person's point of view, their personal place in this thing, and this person's personal place in this thing, and make an impartial call. I need you to understand the power of changing your point of perspective. If you stay to your side of the sword, guess what? The sword, being the actions of life, it only hits things. And that means that the stronger you're on your perceptive side of the truth, the more life bangs into you, the more it feels incongruent. But the tip of the sword doesn't get bent. The tip of the sword doesn't take any damage because it's true. And this is something to understand. This is why the argument starts, because your point of view is opposite of another, and only conflict can happen. So I ask you, refer to the sword's truth. Go to the tip. Become impartial. Don't take it so personal. Use some logic. Use some deductive reasoning. And allow your common sense to help you decipher the truth.